Dear directors and dear viewers, hello. My name is Liga, and this is the Q&A for Short Riga International competition. And today with us, I'm glad to welcome directors of 3 films, which is Marin, who is representing her animation film, What Resonates in Silence. Hello, Marin.
Hello, everybody.
Then I also have directors who are behind the experimental film called The Cup. Hello, Marc and Chua. Am I correct?
Hello. Hello, everybody. Hi.
And then today also, as well, I have the director who is behind the film November. And November is the only film from this Q&A who is not represented in the program number 2, but is screened in program number 3. Hello, Camille.
Hello.
And hello also, I didn't catch your name. Sorry.
Anthony.
Yes.
Hello.
Anthony. Okay. So without any further ado, I'd like to start with Marin. So Marin, how knowledgeable you were about the insides of the embalmer's profession before starting to make your film?
Oh, I didn't have lots of knowledge about procedures in embalming. In the embalming industries, I just knew some things from my personal experience about how you can have a presentation of the body, and in our French culture, how it goes nowadays with the family, but I didn't know really all the different little aspects of this presentation.
And how did you research that?
In many different ways, actually. I went on the website called Tanardorama. It's an experimental website when you can experience your own death. And they present to you all the different people and all the different jobs there are in this industry. So it was one of my references. And also I had some books about the techniques of embalming and all the evolution during different times. And I had the pleasure, once I was already doing the storyboard, so the scenario was already there, and I had this kind of surprise in my life to meet a guy who did this job for a while. So he shared with me his experience with the first woman he had to take care of to do the presentation to the family. So it was quite interesting.
Sorry, did you already know this person before, or just
no, just this kind of gift in your life? It's like serendipity when you are just working on a subject and you meet somebody totally like that, without thinking about it, and he shared it with me. It was a great moment. So I had also people testimony about this job. This particular job.
It's quite lucky, I would say.
Yeah.
You already touched upon the subject of screenwriting process, and if I understand correctly, you started developing the script in a creative writing workshop. Is that so?
Yeah, actually, at the beginning, I was really working just with the voiceover. And it was the basis of all the scenario after that. So at the beginning, I did automatic writing during my studies, and I discovered this way of writing down some ideas and just let the flow go down. And it was the result of my first exercise, actually. We had to take a painting by René Magritte, and do a little text, a little fiction about that. And it was just a really cute pair of shoes in leather and some hair going down there. And I imagined the dialogue without response of the woman preparing this other woman for the last time.
And so basically you started with you developed the second part first, where the woman talks gently to the lifeless body of this deceased woman. And when, how, and why did you write the first part with the little girl with the fragmented memory?
I did that in the second time, but it was obvious for me that it was a story of intimacy. And I wanted to share this kind of love I have for people exercising this particular job. And it was important for me to explain how your personal experience, your memories can affect you in your life, and some kind of weird way you can pass on some traumatic experience and create something else with that. So it was quite natural, the fact that I would have to develop this part with really personal to me, with the experience of how you can live with the image people give you and the one that are hidden from yourself, and how you can live with that, or what you can do with that.
It's also quite, I find it quite beautiful that you linked the little girl who never really had the chance to have this last look, and you made her into a grown-up who actually chose a career of literally being the person who is the last one touching someone. It's quite a nice link that you've made, a connection.
Thank you.
And also you already talked a bit about the narration, and how was it for you to write it? Because I find the language, the words and phrasings you've used quite poetic and respectful. How was it for you to write this voiceover?
It's weird because it's actually I haven't rewrite it lots of time. Actually, it's always when I do some automatic writing, it goes like that. I try to keep it natural. So I wanted to convey the feeling I had for this experience, but also try to have simple words, because I wanted the feeling to be a testimony of the voiceover, like you are during I don't know, a dinner or at a party or something, and it's the end of the night and you are just talking about your experience and what you do in your life, and it's kind of this intimate moment sharing together.
I see. And how can you please talk about the creative process? I mean, the drawing, how did you choose the color palette and so on?
Yeah, actually, I was really working with all the words, and when I had to do the storyboard, I was stuck in the first place, because I wanted all the action to be just in the room of the preparation of the body, and I was stuck in this kind of editing. So I wanted to let some weeks pass to digest everything and to try another way to create the screenplay. So I did the same thing as creative writing, but in drawings. So I recorded the voiceover, and I played it over and over again, and I did hundreds of automatic drawings in some sketchbooks. And after a few weeks, I looked at them, and I saw different patterns and stuff always repeating. And I was like, okay, that's my language for the movie. So I have to work with all these images and try to do all the connection with the world. So it was my work for the first part of the movie. And for the second part, it was always obvious to me that I wanted to do just an editing of still images, because it was really important to be just with the body and all the beauty you can see in all the little imperfections of the skin, and being really, really close to this woman.
Yeah, so these imperfections and all these details, I found them also really beautiful, because the little girl, she doesn't really see the big picture, but she remembers like a cheek or hair and things like that. It's a wonderful way how to show associations and how memory actually works, I think.
Yeah, it's exactly that. The first part is all about transformation and vanishing images, and it's how our own memories work. And effectively, it's exactly that in the second part. When you remember somebody, you remember him or her in little details, like how her hand was, a sound, a smell, something. It's like really personal.
Yes, I felt that.
Thank you.
And what about the music? You had music especially written for your film by a composer named Pierre.
Pierre Caillet, yeah.
Yes.
It's always difficult for me to work with music, because it's not my personal material. So it's always really interesting to see with who you want to work and how the things can evolve. Pierre Caillet is a composer I really love. And it was the first time for me working with him. And it was quite interesting, because at the beginning, we wanted something quite different. We wanted something like an hypnosis in some kind of way, but with different instruments and more experimental. And when we tried it on the movie, during the making of the movie, it wasn't working at all. And I said to him, okay, just I'm cool with you, with how you can feel all the stuff in the movie. So just try it your own way and we'll see. And it was just the second music he presented to me was the one in the movie. And it was so beautiful, like it's like little voices coming over and over and over with all the chords and the violin. And I was like, okay, that's it.
Yeah. It evokes then the feeling of nostalgia as well, the music paired together with the imaginary. And lastly, Marine, would you like to remind us about this website where we can experience our own depth?
It's called Thanatorama,
okay.
like Thanos, Thanatorama.
Yes, like
I don't know if you can
still...
no, it's more like Thanos, the god of death, and Thanatorama with an R. I can try to find it on internet.
Okay, I think the viewers will be already quite curious, and we'll try to Google it.
That's an experience.
Yes, I believe so. Thank you for now.
Thank you so much.
And now I would like to move on and talk about a film called The Cup. And together we have the directors who are together as a duet known as Emumi. Is that correct?
Yes.
Hello, guys. Sorry. So while watching your film, for me, at least, I found that it's about self-improvement and never really being satisfied with the result, because the man with he was never happy about the brew he has made. And plus, of course, it was also, at least for me, about the feelings of anxiety. Was this the metaphor you were aiming for, or it's just my personal interpretation?
Yeah, I think it was. It's very much in the same tracks as what you were talking about, because we kind of, when we made this film, it was earlier last year, right? And it was kind of at the start of this whole global pandemic and lockdowns. And so it was kind of very personal for us in kind of dealing with the anxiety and frustrations, you know, at that time. And when everything was kind of getting bad all over in the beginning, and much as always, I think making a film was what we were thinking. You know, that's something we could do in our home, and so I think, yeah, during that lockdown period, I think everyone and us observed kind of the various effects of this pandemic, you know, both on a collective and individual level, in all over the world. And so we kind of saw that the experience seemed to bring to the surface in many this kind of like a dissatisfaction with simply living, but in that very much more isolated way. And so we wanted to kind of have a humorous take on that notion, put it out during that time, and
like what you're saying, like about the self-improvement. So I think what we were thinking was kind of having the brew being a bit about the lived experience that we were going through during that time. And you know, when he would taste the brew, it's like kind of reflecting on and maybe even kind of evaluating that lived experience.
Right.
Yeah. So in a way, yeah,
seeing that whole process in a daily ritual that I guess all of us still had in our homes, which was making that brew of coffee every morning.
Yeah. Where did you get this idea, or was it all the ideas basically, were they more random or also thought through?
Right. Yeah, actually, because we kind of wanted to visually express that surreality of the whole experience during that time. And so I think with the costume, with that figure, the design was based on partially something that come about earlier, almost like 2 years ago, with a music release that we had
Sorry,
done.
Marc, sometimes I'm losing you.
I think the design was based on something that had come about earlier in our music work.
Yeah, because we're also musicians.
Yeah, I read that. And you are also musicians, performance artists, and you work with installations as well, right?
Yes.
And how do you feel this experience in all these basically how the multidisciplinarity has helped you in cinema? How do you feel? What would you say?
I think for us, kind of, there's always that point where it's almost like a grooving with the rhythm, and kind of sometimes we try to approach the images like in that rhythmic sense, right? Like we can jam it out. And I think with this film as well, like that's why we wanted to cross collaborate with our musician friend in Cebu in the Philippines as well, who's also a musician. And it was kind of our way to during all of our lockdowns still get together with people and create something, you know, out of and
I'm sorry, I'm still losing you sometimes. I think it's something with your mic. It's a bit jumpy.
Oh,
right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Can you talk now?
Yes. And also maybe just to build from what Marc was saying just now, I think because the central figure in the cup, it came from that music release that we did. So this figure of this man, this strange man with a platter on his head, kind of bearing the burdens of existence.
Yeah.
And so,
so the
that was
props
kind of
were,
where the idea.
Sorry. So you already touched upon that. If it was already in your in a music video you've made previously, you already had the props made before?
Actually, earlier it was a cassette tape cover. So it was just an image that we had in our mind.
Yeah, it was like a drawn, something that we drew, but then we brought it to life after that.
So we had to source for the materials around our home and put it together.
And even the little beans, you had basically everything you had was found in your home?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think some things we had to source. Because we couldn't leave our house at that time, so we had to source through mail, getting people to mail stuff to us. Yeah, and so the beans were actually, those were painted. We used like this bean, red bean, that is kind of common in soups and desserts. Yeah. So yeah.
How did you make it pop out? Because it was going like.
So that's a really funny story, because we had to devise like kind of a hose.
From the sinks in our home, there was a rubber hose. So we took that out and rigged it up with the little mask that we had made, and you had to blow through the tube.
Yeah, and in the process, I think he swallowed a few of the beans. Yeah. So we were a bit concerned.
Really? And what about the pumping mechanism? Because also there was water pumping through his eye.
Yes, right.
And also I was really intrigued by the mousse or whatever. What was it on his face that he was...
Yeah.
What was this material?
It was actually kind of from the potted plants in our home. There would be these, I don't know if they were decorations or they were the actual part of the, like they were moss that was growing in the pots, we're not sure. Yeah, we got that out and stuck that all over.
So lockdown basically actually enhanced your creativity because you found all these things just like that laying around in your house.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think staying indoors too much made us a
bit insane.
That's so great. And so are you also now currently in the apartment where the cup was filmed?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
You haven't gotten too far. But was it, how was this experience for both of you, filming a rather claustrophobic film, locked in your own four walls, and needless to say, in a claustrophobic time, namely under the COVID lockdown? How was it for you?
I think generally we were quite happy to kind of just throw ourselves into the whole process, because it was a difficult time, and the best way that we knew how to kind of capture and make sense of it was by making the film. And it actually did get quite literally claustrophobic, because both of us wore the mask at different times, and it was a bit suffocating. So we would really kind of get, it's really hot here as well. So we would get nauseous and vomiting and stuff.
Well, you're lucky it's really cold here. But and also I found it interesting that he was talking to his own shadow as if it was another person, and the shadow was responding. How come?
So actually, for that scene, the man's voice is in a Chinese dialect called Teochew, and the shadow
I was about
is responding.
to ask you.
Yes, right.
Not that I know, but just about the language used.
Yes, right. So the shadow responds in Cebuano, which is a language spoken in the southern Philippines. So I think what we were thinking was, having the man and his shadow converse, almost like a really familiar, you get a sense of familiarity, intimacy between the two, but, kind of they're talking different languages as well. So I think what we were feeling during the time was this closeness with our collaborators, our friend that we mentioned in Cebu, and also a feeling that everybody was, even though we were kind of in our own bubble, but we had something that a bit kind of was binding us together. Yeah, and then the shadow conversation was kind of our way to represent that.
Because actually the dialect, the Teochew, was by my dad, who was also locked in the home with us. So I think it nicely spoke to how we thought it nicely spoke to how the pandemic experience around the globe, with that being so shared, our collectivity maybe could be more, during this whole phenomena, more tangibly seen or perhaps heard, even through our differences.
And do you speak those languages or dialects? I don't know what's more precise.
Yeah, actually, the Teochew, not so much. Actually, I grew up my whole life around my grandma speaking it with my dad, and also Cebuano. No, and that was why we thought that was a cool little way to kind of jam with these languages that were around us, and our friends and family, and with I don't know, there was a certain power to that.
Yeah, if no one else in the world, at least maybe in Europe, understands it, at least you have paid some sort of homage to friend and his language. And
yes, exactly.
What was your work duty? How did you divide your duties, seeing that both of you have directed, produced, and written the film?
I think we, much like our other films also, we tend to try to split it quite equally. Yeah. So in terms of making,
down to who was in the costume and who was behind the camera, and having to run back and forth like that.
And also down to the sound design. I think that was also the product of a lot of gems between the two of us.
All right, but it seems that you managed well, even in 4 walls and with one film, 2 people with one film in 4 walls. And lastly, also your previous film is a feature that is a bit also absurd and surrealistic.
Yes. So our previous film, Revolution Launderette, it's actually a film that we shot in Tokyo in Japan, and that was before the pandemic happened. The film is also like a absurdist story about this boy kind of going on a bizarre adventure through Tokyo, and features some of our collaborators in Japan, musicians, artists, bands, really cool kind of avant-garde experiment.
Just what draws you to these absurd environments and stories and characters?
I think we do feel that it's kind of a way that we found we can sort of see or reflect on and think about reality actually much more clearly than even our real life sometimes. So almost accessing it through dreams and nightmares also.
Yeah, I think these days more than before. So kind of more, we are seeing more strange, alienating sides to daily life. Yeah.
On to Tereza. Hi, Tereza. So your film Delimitation is, I find it really to be really tangible and tactile, as if not only the protagonist, but also the viewer can really feel the textures of the surfaces. How did you go about creating such a tactile film?
Hi, yeah, can you hear me right?
Yes.
Good. I did this film as my first film after graduation from FAMO, where I got very stuffed by the atmosphere that everybody was just into social drama and realism, and I didn't feel really this kind of space where I could be like artistically free or just trying to find my own voice or language of film, how I perceive things around me. And after the school, I had like really like identity breakdown because I didn't feel, you know, my steps behind me really in what I did. So I decided to do something which I really wanted to see, which was very hard to imagine actually, because I wasn't used to such thinking. And
You mean dance, or
no, just
in which way?
in the way of creating your own stuff. Like nobody really let me to do that before, because it was just so strict in a way on FAMU, or just the atmosphere wasn't like.
Mhm.
And I was looking for flats, and the film is actually about this woman feeling very alone in a in a city full of people and sounds. And I wanted to distribute this atmosphere of being lost, not only not having a flat, but being lost in yourself without gravity toward yourself and the world, and how important is to find a place somewhere, and to have this space to actually be able to let someone in and to find closeness because of that. And yeah, and that was really the maybe the motivation for me to do this film. And I wanted to do that strictly with pure like language of film as I understand it, like, which is really sound and movement and picture.
Yeah, also the aesthetics of the film is really clean and earthy. I mean, the colors are really earthy and nice and not too colorful, and then there are these architecturally clean cuts. So it really is a purely beautiful image that you already touched upon.
Well, thank you. It's interesting because, you know, in this beauty I found also a way of, you know, how do you say it, absence of closeness. You know, it's very dead. This architecture, which is like full of in Prague, you know.
Yeah, it's really urban, but she still is trying to touch and get to know the surfaces in this crowded city.
Yeah.
And speaking about the close-ups also, there are these close-ups of hands and of the body moving. Are you particularly drawn to depicting the nuances of a human body on screen? What urges you to do that?
Maybe it's just some intuition, like when you really want to depict closeness, you want to be as close as possible, and you want to create a contrast, maybe. But that's only my theory, you know. But I just feel like that female directors tend to go very close to things, and I you know, count myself in this tendency. For example, I don't know, Claire Denis with Agnes Godard in Friday's Night. It's all about the structures that surround you more than about a concrete story. It's about the emotional living the night, you know. As you know, Marcel was speaking about energies, I was like, yes. I'm also you know, a plotless fan, so.
And you worked with Marqueta, who is both the actress and who is behind the choreography. Can you, as I understood, right? She is the choreographer.
Not really, but
no?
yeah.
Can you clear my confusion, because I thought I get it from the generics, sorry, the credits of the film.
It's there because she's a choreographer. You know, I didn't want to put her as you know, just the actress, because she's. It was my point to just not do things with actors, but to work with dancers, because I didn't want. I wanted to just move from the acting point of view and tested what we call acting. Actually, acting for me is anything be like before camera, you know, and the movement also, and that was, people call this film like dance film, and I'm just, no, this is film. Because I wanted, you know, I didn't want people to express themselves verbally. I didn't want it to enter the character through this three-plot structure where you have to have this exposition about this person and know where they were born, and I don't know what, just like really intuitively, like I don't know, yeah.
Was it?
And the choreography actually was a question of jamming between me and Marqueta as I was speaking to her with my thoughts. She was like translating it to the movement, and when we were out of words, I started to move myself. And
So you were sort of synchronized, even.
Yeah,
it became
yeah.
At least.
That was like dancing directory. I think it's very interesting field.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend that to everyone. So because you sometimes get lost with words when you're director, yeah. So it's just like, no, you have to do it like this. So yeah.
Speaking about being lost with words, you said, and it's visible that there's almost no lines, almost no words spoken. Was it easy for you to stop yourself from adding more words or explanations, or did it come naturally to make a film that has limited talking? Did it come naturally?
Actually, no, because everything radical is actually easy. So it was just like, no. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, I have rules, so I can move somewhere, you know, in a space. I don't have to ask myself all the time. It's like, am I really want to do this? You know, it's just like, I'm doing this. So
maybe Marcel could second that actually, when you get rid of a lot of things, that it's actually maybe even easier to make decisions. Was there anything tough as a dilemma that you needed to face?
Money. Like all the time, you know, I mean, like, this is the only enemy of film. It's just yeah, money and everything else was actually fine. We had to find this flat, so you know, every flat is so expensive in Prague normally, so if you want to shoot there and you have no budget, it's even like more interesting. So
so it wasn't a flat from, let's say, friends, but it was a real flat that you rented for the filming.
Yeah.
And what's the story behind the dress, that really beautiful dress that is transparent and floating?
I did that with I just had this in my mind, and then we did it from, you know, this plastic things you paint your flat and you put it on the floor, so you don't mess up your floor. And actually I was like, yeah, this is just this, because it's just, yeah. And then I actually realized that this is a huge cliche, even in the dance world, and in, you know, every other like you know, aesthetic kind of I don't know,
maybe it's not a cliche, it's just a classical way of doing it, or homage also to all those dancers that came before, like Louis Foulard and all those. Maybe it's not a cliche, or maybe it's a cliche for a reason, because it works. Yeah. And it's really beautiful on the screen.
Yeah, thank you.
now let's go to Oldboy's apples. So hi.
Hey.
So I'm gonna remind our audience that Oldboy's apples was screened in screening number 2. So that's a bit of that was that this film was shown elsewhere, but we're going to talk to you now. So I'm actually also going to repeat myself. So I'm going to ask you the same question: that how did you come up with this idea for the film?
Oh boy, a lot of different things. Mostly dreams, and meeting with musician friends and kind of collaborating. It was part of a longer project I originally had planned, and I kind of decided to scrap that when a friend of mine sent me an album he'd been working on, and was just like, have a listen to this. And I went through the album, and there were a few songs in there that really stuck out to me and kind of formed this image in my mind. And I just scrapped what I was doing, and I was like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do now. So it's a combination of that, and then me being obsessed with old stories and old characters from mythology and folklore and old religious stories, things like that, and personal life experiences kind of all wound up into one.
Okay. So, and I think you read that the that it took you something like 3 years to make the film, right?
Yeah. So it's stop motion film. It's only about 7 minutes long, and it took 2 years of building and animating to just get it shot, and then another year of putting it together on the computer and doing all the digital editing and doing the sound stuff. And it was way more than I bargained for.
Do you regret it?
Yeah, totally. No, it was good to do. It was one of those things where it took, like, I'll have this done in a year, and then a year later, I'll have this done in 2 years, and then 3 years came up, and I was, by that time, everything was shut down, and I was like, well, this is all I have left to do, so I'll just stay at home on the computer and finish this thing. It was kind of a blessing in disguise in that way. But yeah, I mean, it was my first like kind of personal film. I've worked on other people's films before as an animator and as a storyboard artist and as a writer. And this was my first chance to kind of get my hands dirty and make puppets and make sets and really build everything from scratch. And so, yeah, I don't think I'll ever regret it.
What is currently happening with the puppets that you built? Are they still with you?
This is the devil, who is my star of my film. He's called the devil, but really he's kind of more of like a traditional kind of old world devil before Christianity, you could say, like one of the horned spirits, which is kind of one of the aspects of the film. All the characters kind of play multiple roles and have multiple different ways of viewing them depending on what culture you come from. And I tried to actually look into different versions of these stories and incorporate those aspects of the characters. And I have a few more of them down here, but they mostly just sit in a box until they're ready for their next debut. I've been working on another film, so at the moment they're just and they get to come out for interviews and say hi, do a little wave if they want, but for the most part, they just sit in a box.
So you literally have a devil sitting on your shoulder, like in that saying.
Definitely, yeah. He whispers to me deep into the night, and all I have to do is respond, and I wake up and do his bidding.
So you have also chosen a very demanding technique in which you made this film, right? Which stop motion animation is very demanding. What was it about it that attracted you?
So I originally studied hand-drawn animation, and I really love hand-drawn animation still, but it's kind of something, as soon as computers started being able to draw on computers, the medium took off, and now there's so much hand-drawn animation, and I kind of just felt like I was drowning in that world of content. And I was also kind of sick of spending 10-hour days alone in a room drawing. And I was like, I want to go work with people. I want to be a person again. So I started contacting a friend of mine who was a camera guy and a cinematographer, and my partner, Sammy Graff, who helped me make the film, was a miniature artist, and she started teaching me how to make sets. She also covered all the puppets. I would make the skeletons out of metal, and she would felt them based off of drawings that I'd had. So a lot of it was, yeah, I wanted to work with people again. And also I kind of got sick of working on a computer. I just wanted to like actually be physically moving things and sweating, and, you know, it helped me lose some weight. So that was cool. You know, but yeah, it's stop motion is one of those things that's just, it's kind of like a marathon. You're physically exhausted at the end of the day because you're crouching over and bending, you know, several thousand times to move the puppet. And then by the time it's over, you have something and you can't go back and fix it. Whereas in hand-drawn animation, you can constantly fix and polish and make things better, and it's exhausting and horrible. So I was just, I want to animate it, it's done, and then you move on to the next shot. And if it's not that great, you just kind of have to deal with it.
Are you going to do something in stop motion animation again?
Oh yeah. I just recently finished a little project, well, halfway finished project for some music groups that I'm doing some stuff for, but I'm also building more puppets and writing things. And I've actually been kind of more so in the writing process and building things, but I'm exploring the medium in different ways. And yeah, I'm hoping I can do something that's a little bit less time consuming. So I'm trying to find ways to speed up the process and make it less laborious, but it's not much of an easy thing to do.
I would like to just, we have a really brief moment. I would like to ask each of you, why have you chosen the short format? Because still, I'm asking this because still I feel that between certain people, there's still a stigma that, oh, it's just for students, or oh, it's just a film, sort of a rite of passage before working on feature. And yet all the festivals, including Short Riga, are really trying to prove that short films matter, and they're really interesting. So why have you, all of you have chosen a short format? Who's ready? Marin, I feel that you could even
maybe it's obvious in animation because it's a technique, so it's so expensive that making short films is really, it's a main space to experiment and to try different things. And also for feature films, it's it's really hard to do feature film animation without several millions of euros. And as the production is, and when you want to do more adult film or stuff like that, it's still really difficult to be able to do this kind of thing in animation today. If it's not an adaptation of comic books, for example, or with some really big names, it's still difficult. And I think we have also it's a really great way to try different things, and I think we can see a really diverse creation in short films. I think it's j'arrive pas à le dire en anglais forcément. Anthony.
You can try, we can help.
En animation, en tout cas, c'est le format roi. It's the best format in animation, I think, to create, to share this experience with others.
Yes, thank you for your answer. Marc and Chua, have you also prepared an answer? Why?
Yeah, I think the short format, I think for us, we've always found it to be like a different vehicle entirely, and especially, I guess, also sometimes we think in musical terms as well, like with the composition and what might actually fit a certain expression. I think sometimes we do find that it wouldn't work as a feature as well.
Yeah.
Certain ideas and also actually it feels like when generally when people approach short films, it's because they really care about film and its different expressive forms, and it's always like much more a nice feeling of being around everyone that really loves looking at watching different films and discussing techniques and ideas.
And like Marine was saying also, it's a way that we can try to experiment a little, kind of try something different, and I think a lot of things maybe more possible with short films that might not be so possible with feature films. Like our upcoming project is shot on the 16mm film. Yeah, so I think that's something that
is it also short?
really,
Sorry, your upcoming project.
It's a short film shot on film. Yeah, I think it wouldn't be possible as a feature at least at this moment because of costs and everything, all the things associated with shooting on film.
Is it filmed in your backyard? Because you have already covered the apartment.
It's actually the swimming complex nearby.
All right.
Just a little further.
Maybe you just don't like to walk. Thank you, guys. Thank you for devoting your time and trusting us with your films. I sign off. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.